All right, cheers.
Cheers.
So in the last episode, we heard a lot about movies that you like.
Yes.
And I do want to hear more movies that you like because you have good taste in movies. But
good.
But I want to tell you a little bit about, so there are a couple of movies, because we've been talking, you talked a lot about action movies where there's a lot of like killing and stuff, and I like those movies, but I also like I said, I like movies that make you think and kind of reflect on your life. And one of those movies that I really like is, well, I think a lot of people know about Inception already. I watched that movie 4 times in theaters when it came out in 2010. Because, like, I don't know.
Were you the guy that watched Matrix like 10 times?
No.
Okay.
So what I realized looking back in my life, because actually I'm not interested in this type of movie anymore, but this is back when I was a Christian. I had a huge guilt complex. But, like, I would always watch movies about, so Komi, you can bring up Inception, no? Yeah. I think a lot of Japanese people have watched this movie, but I realized I got really attracted to movies where the main character had a past that he regretted and was trying to atone for it.
Yeah.
And that is Inception right there. But, I mean, you've seen that movie, right?
Yeah, but Inception was kind of ruined for me because of the South Park episode that was made for it. Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to.
It ruins the movie.
Yeah.
Because it completely is like, oh, man.
Yeah. Well, okay, so another movie, though, that I like that has no killing in it whatsoever is Chef. Have you seen Chef?
No.
It's
What is that about?
Who's the guy who directed The Mandalorian? Do you remember his name?
Joe Favreau?
Yeah, Joe Favreau, I think. No. I don't think his first name is Joe, but let me look. Because, let's see, The Mandalorian.
Because The Mandalorian, I think, was directed by a woman, actually.
Okay,
But,
I want to say it's, Jon Favreau.
Oh,
Jon
right.
Favreau, yeah.
close.
Joe, not Joe, it's Jon.
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau.
So that guy's
all right, so this movie, Chef. It's about, man, we've already been drinking a bit.
Telling me on this.
No, it's about a guy who is like the head chef at a restaurant, and he has a disagreement with the owner, and so he decides to start his own restaurant, but he doesn't have any money, so he dude, it's okay, I forgive you, spilling this precious sake that we have, but he doesn't have enough money to start his own restaurant, so he starts a food cart, and his daughter helps him by teaching him how to use Twitter. So he promotes it on Twitter, and he ends up having a very, very popular food truck. It's a nice, heartwarming movie about a guy trying to start his own business and being successful.
Oh, man.
I started my own business, so I really resonate with that.
Do you just like watching movies when the main character is you?
No, but here's the thing. People, no, it's not just me. Here's the thing. Most people watch movies where they identify themselves with the main character.
That's
because
true.
The reason why humans like stories and movies is because it's a form of problem solving. It's like, if I were in that situation, what would I do? So if you can't identify with the character, then you're not interested in it. Yeah. That's like why I'm not interested in like the Barbie movies, because I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But
so okay. How about this? If you had one movie that you could recommend to a Japanese person wanting to watch English films, what would it be?
So it really depends on the purpose.
Okay. I'll give you some more specific details. A person wanting to know more about, we'll even narrow it down. A person wanting to experience American culture.
So this might be a long shot for you, but I really think Green Book is a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because for whether we like it or not, race is a huge thing in the United States, and it's a huge divisive factor that actually explains a lot of what's going on in the United States right now. And a lot of what's happening now has its roots back in the 50s and the 60s. And one thing that I really like about Green Book is Have you seen that movie, by the way?
I have not, but I know of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to say I really like Viggo Mortensen, the main character.
Yeah.
He is a beast because he's Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, and then he's this fat Italian guy.
Oh,
and it's so funny because when you see him, he's in his wife beater and he's like this fat Italian. Hey, give me some chicken. He just talks like that, and it's like a completely different person. First, I just really respect his acting.
Oh, what happens?
Yeah. No. But it talks about kind of like, so he is an Italian guy in a time when Italian people were also discriminated against.
Sure.
And he has to be in this like servant role to this black guy who is actually much more cultured, much more intelligent than he is.
Yeah.
But at first he thinks he's beneath him,
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is they both experience multiple facets of American culture together because he drives him on a tour through America.
Yeah.
And he goes in the South, he goes in the North, he sees all these things. And even though nowadays it's not as blatant as, even nowadays it's not as blatant as it was back then, you can still see the roots of what we have now. And I don't know, it's a very, very heartwarming movie about how they become friends in the end too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, that was a very moving movie for me.
I think for me, I know we're doing your recommendations, but
No, I want to hear your stuff too.
I think for me is Forrest Gump.
Jenny. Yeah. Forrest Gump's a good movie. The thing is, so Forrest Gump is a great movie, but I didn't want to talk about a movie that's so obvious because I feel like a lot of Japanese people have seen Forrest Gump.
Have they?
I think so.
You think so?
Okay, maybe if I'm wrong, just say Arthur, you are wrong in the comments.
Yeah,
please.
I'm actually curious about it. Because I don't actually think Forrest Gump is really that popular of a movie with like newer generations.
Oh, with newer generations, yeah, maybe.
And outside of the United States, I really don't know how popular it is. I know like our generation and older, everyone's seen Forrest Gump. But I think if I were to pick out a movie that like defines how Americans think,
Okay.
it's the movie about a mentally challenged man.
Why?
No, that's not where I was going with that. That was a joke.
Okay.
But it is a movie about a mentally challenged man. But so the thing about Forrest Gump that I think it like makes it uniquely American is the fact that you have a guy who from the very beginning of his life, he's told he can't do something.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that like really defines like the American spirit is like, screw you, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, right.
Right? I'm going to overcome everybody who's telling me, no, I can't do this, and I'm going to do it. How is that represented in our history? Well, we were the first like country to make airplanes and successfully do it. We made huge strides in, I'm not going to say inventing electricity, but it's like we've gone out, we've been to the moon, we've made planes, we've like done all this really adventurous stuff. And that's like the really true American identity. You have a man who it's like, if you look at like who he is as a person on paper, you would think this guy is a loser and he will never get anywhere in life.
Yeah.
Like he's like I said, he's mentally challenged. He shouldn't be able to do anything, but he ends up becoming a war hero, a successful businessman, like a like exercise champion.
Yeah.
Like
and he's not
athlete.
And he's not actually like trying hard at those things. It just it happens on the way as he's moving through his life.
As he's moving through his life, he's just like, you know what? I'm not trying to be the best. I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
Right? That's his whole life is I'm just going to do this. Right? And it's a really inspirational film about not pigeonholing yourself just because you might not be physically or mentally the best.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter if you try hard enough, you can still have success. Right?
Yeah.
But on top of that, it also goes through really pivotal moments in like modern American history.
True. Yeah.
Right? Where it talks about like, the civil rights movement, Vietnam, the JFK assassination, going through like the 80s and everything, right? And it's just a really beautiful film that kind of like culminates into like the American identity.
Yeah.
I really think.
And they have that famous line, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you say, so objectively, your answer is more correct than mine. And that's totally fine.
This isn't a competition.
It's not a competition, but I'm just saying, if you have to watch Green Book or Forrest Gump, you should watch Forrest Gump first. If you've seen that, you should watch that.
Should watch both of them. Do a
Yeah.
double feature.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because like I feel like you say, you know, in America, there are some themes that really are very popular, which is one is everyone tells you you can't,
Yeah.
but then you can do it.
Yeah.
And then another one is to kind of like, I mean, I guess this is kind of related, but to like shake off the like you have antagonism between groups and you kind of shake that off. Cause like another movie that I really like that, I want to make sure that this is the right title. This is another Viggo Mortensen movie.
Yeah.
Let me just see if this is.
I'm glad to see him in more films. I'm going to be honest, man. You just don't see that guy, and he's a really good actor.
I know he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
Let me see if this is. Okay. Great. Oh, so the movie. I'm glad I looked it up because I had the wrong title. Yeah, the movie is called Captain Fantastic. Have you heard of?
No, I never heard of this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is another Viggo Mortensen movie.
Okay.
Where he and his wife raise their family in the woods.
Okay.
And they both decide that current society teaches kids to be soft and weak and slaves, and so they want them to become self-reliant, strong individuals. So they take them to the woods. They live in the woods. They teach them survival skills, how to get food and stuff, and how to live on their own. And they learn all these great skills. But not just that, they also teach them philosophy and about like world life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And his wife dies, and so they have to have a funeral. And the parents want to have a nice Catholic funeral for her, but she renounced her faith. She said she's Buddhist.
Yeah.
You know, like in America, like Buddhist just means like I'm spiritual, I'm nature, whatever. Yeah. And so the parents of the mother are trying to have this nice Catholic funeral, and the husband and the children say, no, she didn't want that. That was not in her wishes. Those are what you want to put on her. She should have the funeral the way that she wants. And it's this kind of conflict between the sterile, safe society of mainstream America versus this kind of free, rugged, and wild way of life. And it's really funny because there's this pivotal scene in the movie. This is not really a spoiler. It's not a huge thing, but there's this part where they go. They're driving to go to the funeral place, and on the way they go meet some of their old friends. And the friends say to Viggo Mortensen, say to the husband, "Your kids are so strange. They're not well adjusted. They don't know how to work in society. They don't know what they need to know to be effective Americans." And so he calls his daughter out to come down. It comes down, and then his friends' children are there too. And he says to the friends' children, he says, "So what did you learn in history class about the Bill of Rights? You know, the American Bill of Rights?" And they're like, it was they wrote it a long time ago. Like that's all they say. And then he asks his daughter about the Bill of Rights, and she's able to recite the preamble of it, and then also explain why it was important.
Yeah.
And the parents of his friends are still like, yeah, but she knows a lot, but she's not going to be well adjusted to society. And actually, there's a part where the kids resent their father because they're not well adjusted to society. But it's talking about this kind of struggle between stable society and living this free, self-reliant life, which I think you also see a lot in the United States because there's a huge homeschool movement, you know?
Yeah.
When I talk to my wife about, maybe we should homeschool our kids, she's like, "What? Yeah, are you crazy?" But in America, it's not uncommon.
It's really divisive in America too. Extremely.
Yeah.
And I have a bit of experience with this because my nieces are homeschooled.
From your sister's kids?
You met Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea. Yeah.
Chelsea's kids are homeschooled. And there's a lot of, I actually feel kind of bad because there's a lot of stereotypes that go with homeschool kids. Like they're not well adjusted.
Yeah.
They're dumb. They don't know how to socialize.
Well, they're not dumb. They're just socially awkward. They have a lot of knowledge, but they don't know how to interact with kids.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And I know this is kind of like a bias, personal reference, but it's like I know my nieces, and they're perfectly fine socializing. They're very social. They are very knowledgeable on things. They're great kids. And so I don't know whether or not the answer is like to homeschool your kids or to send them to public school, but regardless, I think it's not as bad of an option as it's perceived to be, right? But it's such a divisive issue.
Well, you know, it's funny because like, so I remember I watched this video or I read this article or something about the difference between Japanese and American cinema.
Yeah.
And they kind of showed the example in Godzilla. Because Godzilla is like the quintessential Japanese film.
Yeah.
And so have you seen the original Godzilla?
Like, are you talking about like the
1950s?
Oh, I was going to say 60s.
1950s. It was black and white.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah. So in that movie, what happens is Godzilla comes and then this is the original Japanese movie, is Godzilla comes, no one knows what to do. The government calls a scientist to come in to create something to vaporize Godzilla, right? And so in traditional Japanese narratives in a lot of movies, you'll have this larger organization who has the authority. They fix the problem. Whereas in America, it's much more common for the overarching authority fumbles, makes a mistake, and then an outsider comes in, creates a new solution and fixes the situation, you know? And so like a lot of American movies are going to talk like that. Captain Fantastic is one of those, you know? But I remember watching Godzilla thinking, this is kind of boring. It's like the good guys are the good guys and the smart guys. Nothing changes.
I completely agree. And I actually really struggle with watching Japanese movies because of the expectations that I have after watching American movies.
Yes.
Right? Because a lot of, like, especially in our previous episode, we were talking about, like, samurai films.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the samurai films, I keep expecting a twist to happen.
There's no
twist.
twist.
It's just like the beginning of the film, the good guys introduce. The good guy powers up and beats the bad guy, and the movie ends. And I'm just sitting here like, there was something supposed to happen at the end, but it never happens.
Yeah, because in America it'd be like the good guys. There's actually a bad guy in there. The good guy's the bad guy, and then there's another good guy that comes in. You know,
I'm so conditioned to there being a twist or there to being like something you need to interpret. Like. It's just a story of like good versus evil. It's like so
my dad loves crappy action movies. Like he loves Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
Okay.
And
wow,
like
you're going there.
My dad loves the movies where you have this guy who used to be like a top-rated assassin who then got disillusioned with his life because the government is bad. So he ends up being like a butcher, you know, a likely profession for an assassin. And then he kind of wants to live his life in solitude. But then the government says, we need your help.
Arthur, not a butcher, a butcher.
A butcher. Yeah. It's like, I said no to that life. I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm going to come back in. And like, it's every single Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's like
when I think I'm out, they bring me back in.
It's like, that's just like, it's always the outsider coming in, you know?
Oh, but, man.
So what are some... So what's like another movie that's maybe not like a violent movie that you like?
No, I'm a violent person, so it's like
I know
it's tend to gravitate.
I actually,
you know what? Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna go the complete opposite end.
Okay,
and I'm gonna pick a very very generic movie.
Yeah,
but I'll get into it.
Okay,
okay. And The Notebook.
You like The Notebook?
I like The Notebook.
Okay, can I just say, The Notebook is known as the movie that all the girls like and wish their boyfriends liked, but the boyfriends don't like it.
I liked it.
I haven't brought myself to watch it yet. Why do you like it?
I liked it because, like I said, I think I've mentioned this in the previous episode, but I think gender roles are important. I'm not saying a person has to always fit a gender role, but I think they're really important in guiding people into living happy lives because when you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do, there's a certain sense of satisfaction.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying that's okay for everyone, but for generally speaking, that it feels really nice, right? And I think The Notebook really represents tender manliness.
Yeah. Isn't that the one where Ryan Gosling goes, "You complete me"?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're mixed. That's actually Tom Cruise. Who
Oh, that's Tom Cruise says, "You complete me." Okay, never mind.
From a movie that I actually really like, but I can't remember the name.
Okay.
Anyways, so basically the premise of the Notebook is you have two people, and I'm going to say they're both main characters because they both get about the same amount of screen time.
Okay.
Right? It's a man and a woman. Man grows up poor, woman grows up rich. Man and woman fall in love as teenagers. Man doesn't have any money. Woman's family says, no, you can't marry her. Man goes off to war and fights in World War II.
Okay.
He fights, and during that time, woman falls in love with another guy who's actually a nice guy. There's nothing wrong. There's no villain in the story.
Okay.
This guy's just a good guy, right? But she still loves her. She still holds out for that original guy, but she's dating this guy. Guy experiences the horribleness of fighting in World War II, comes back to America as a decorated war hero, and is like, I'm a completely changed person. I don't really know how to progress in my life, but I still love this girl. So I'm just going to go find her.
Yeah.
Right. And this girl's engaged, set to just settle down with this guy. And then this guy shows up again and completely reignites that flame they had together. And the whole story, the whole second part of the movie is just them just experiencing love.
Okay.
Right. And that's the movie.
Okay.
Right. At the end of the movie, they get married and they live happily ever after. Right. It's a girl movie.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. It's made for women.
Yeah.
Right. There's movies that are made for men. There's movies that are made for women. This is made for women, 100%. But a reason why I really like it is because this movie really, I really feel like this movie really shows what love looks like between a man and a woman.
Okay.
Right? Not flashy, let's go on a date, not super sexual. I think there's one sex scene, but it's just pure, clean love. Yeah. And for that, I really, really appreciate it because it shows how women express love and how men express love and how different that is.
Yeah, it is really different, man.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like in America, there's two movies that women will watch indefinitely. And one is The Notebook. The other one is, do you know? Starts with a P.
Okay, no.
Pride and Prejudice.
Really?
Because I remember...
I don't even know what the hell the Pride and Prejudice is.
Really? Okay,
I just know it was... Oh, no, that's The Tale of Two Cities. Is the best time.
So Pride and Prejudice is a Jane Austen book that was turned into a movie. But
I know of the book.
It's kind of the same thing. Like this woman is trying to find someone that she loves, and she finds this man, Mr. Darcy, who could be a good man, but he doesn't match. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, but so I just remember because there's a scene in my life that I will remember for the rest of my life. So when I was in high school, we at my church, one of the people at my church, they had a really big house, they had a mansion, and every year they would do an estate sale where they would do a yard sale that not just them, but everyone from our church could contribute things to kind of sell things. And I would volunteer to help move the stuff, out of storage or whatever. And there was this one time when a bunch of girls, including my sister and my mom, were watching Pride and Prejudice on the TV kind of upstairs.
Yeah.
And I was talking with one of my friends as we were coming up the stairs to kind of grab some stuff. And I guess it was a key moment or something, because as we were talking, we were laughing. They just looked at us and shot the evil eye you are ruining our moment in Pride and Prejudice.
I'm gonna catch some flack on this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch some flack. Okay. I wanna set the premise first. I love musicals.
You do?
I love musicals.
That's surprising.
However, I'm really into theater.
Okay.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah. Growing up as a kid, I used to go to Broadway plays.
Oh,
like,
really?
regularly, like monthly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
My family was really into Broadway plays. And
Okay.
it was fun. I liked it.
I got to tell you. So, yeah, thanks. So I was always like one of those guys. So I'm like an uncultured Greek douche, whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, Broadway, whatever. That's for like the wussies or whatever.
Yeah.
But then my wife really likes Broadway plays. So we went to go see Wicked in New York. I cried 3 times watching.
I was about to start shitting on Wicked. I'm gonna be honest.
No, I mean, never mind.
So
yeah.
Okay. So here I am with claiming I like musicals.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm trying to think of like a musical that I've seen multiple times. That I'm not gonna shit on immediately.
Okay.
In this conversation.
Okay.
Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of Disney's, but yeah, it's kind of a bit of a stretch calling them musicals.
Well, actually, I want to talk about that after you're done with
Okay.
your musical bit.
But okay, so something that I absolutely loved was The Greatest Showman.
I love that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate what I have to say.
Okay. Go
Okay.
for it.
So, Greatest Showman comes out. I watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
Came out.
What's the name? Hugh Jackman, right? Hugh Jackman,
Hugh
Greatest
Jackman,
Showman.
Tremendous actor.
Yeah, he's great.
I love that guy.
I mean, the fact that he can play Wolverine and then that guy at the same time is amazing.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So Greatest Showman comes out in 2018.
2018. I watched it. That's the only movie I've watched in the theaters in Japan. So
Oh, is it
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Yeah. I haven't watched many in Japan also.
Yeah.
So Greatest Showman comes out, and I think most Japanese people are familiar. It's a huge movie. I think, especially women here, all women have watched it.
Yeah.
I think most men have watched it too. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Right. And I was really into it when it came out.
Yeah.
I watched it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And did not feel that.
Okay. Why?
So here's the thing. The movie is very loosely based on a true story.
Yeah, P.T. Barnum.
Very
loosely, yes.
Loosely based on a true story.
Yeah, P.T. Barnum is from my neck of the woods.
Yeah. So the story follows P.T. Barnum and portrays him as kind of this like underdog guy who has everything set against him, but he kind of overcomes odds and ends up being successful. And the movie has like these people who are I'm trying to remember how the movie described them.
Like freaks?
No, they're not. They're never called freaks in the movie.
Okay.
They are called like differently talented or something like that.
Okay.
It's like some really PC term.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you why I had a really sour taste after watching it recently. I think at the time in 2018 was like the height of like PC culture in American Western civilization in general. And I think at the time, like people were really okay with, what's the term? Whitewashing.
Yeah.
Whitewashing history.
Yeah.
And kind of erasing a lot of like the bad stuff and kind of like inserting stuff. Right. And, I was kind of swept up in that at the time. I think pretty much everyone was, right? At least in the US. And having more perspective and more time to like reflect on it now in 2025, almost 10 years. Wow. Yeah. Almost 10 years after this film comes out. I'm now watching it again and I hated it.
Yeah. Well, so
okay.
So I get what you mean. Yeah. So here's the thing. The reason why I like that movie is because of the first song. Because when he sings the song, because I really identify with that like the first song goes like, every night I lie in bed, the flying colors fill my head, and a million dreams are keeping me awake.
Yeah.
And I've felt that, where it's like, I have this world I want to make.
Yeah.
And so I really identify with that.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes me so sad is like the most famous song from that is This Is Me, which is basically like, I don't have to change myself You should accept me as I am.
That's exactly.
I have no problems.
Exactly the problem that I had with it. It was like all of this selfish shit, man.
I know.
And I hated it so much. I actually got angry.
Yeah.
I watched it again because I felt so frustrated with myself because I loved this film.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was like, this is such a transcendent film.
Yeah.
Right? Because I really feel like it awakened something in me. And I watched it again in 2025, just 2 weeks ago. I watched it again and it pissed me off.
Yeah.
And it's specifically the This Is Me thing because, there was a couple parts. So the first part was the fact that P.T. Barnum was a terrible person.
He was a really bad guy.
Really bad guy. He took advantage of people with like deformalities and like all these different things going on in their life. And literally just opened up a literal freak show. He coined the term freak show.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, hey, look at these weird people.
What's funny is because in the movie, right? So in like you remember when he goes on that tour with that like British chick or that like European chick. So in the movie, she falls in love with him and he wants to go away. But in real life, she was disgusted with how he was exploiting the people and she left.
Yeah. Right. And it's like all these things like building up and, you know, I don't blame Hugh Jackman at all. Hugh Jackman is amazing. Like one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, it pissed me off. Like the bearded chick singing, like This Is Me. And it's like all this stuff, man, just pissed me off.
Yeah.
It's like they bring in race in this.
Yeah.
And it's like all of this stuff, like they have the guy from High School Musical.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron, right? Zac Efron and
Zendaya.
Or Zendaya. Whatever fucking name is. We'll go a little bit over.
Yeah,
I want to finish my save pounds. But you have like Zendaya on here, and like, you know, we're just gonna go on. I don't think Zendaya is attractive.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
fine. That means you're racist, but whatever.
But anyways, they like build her up to be like this super beautiful. Anyways, we're not gonna go into that.
Yeah.
But like they have the gal singing "This Is Me," right?
Mm-hmm.
And something that really irritated me about this is because in 2025, I think we've grown past the thing where it's like, let's celebrate diversity for the sake of diversity.
Yeah.
Right? We've moved on from that. And this is what I was talking about with the previous episode of contemporary themes.
Yeah, right. It doesn't age well.
Where it's like, at the time, everyone's like, this is so transitional.
Transcendental.
Whatever. I'm drunk.
Transcendental.
This is so great. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone's super hyped about this, but it's like over time, 10 years later, you look back in this, you're like, this is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stupid opinion to have. Celebrating diversity for the sake of diversity is a dumb opinion to have.
Yeah.
Diversity is good, but you shouldn't celebrate it just purely because it's different, right? And it's like overcoming all these things. It just, like, my problem with the film is it pigeonholes people into these labels, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't be a person. You have to be a black disabled person.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a white oppressor. It's like you have all these labels put. You can't just be an individual.
Yeah, you
right?
can't just be yourself.
And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the relationship with Zendaya and Zac Efron, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, she can't just be a circus freak. She has to be like a minority group circus freak.
Yeah.
Right? And he has to be like the stereotype hot white boy.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, it can't just be a rich guy and a freak girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just frustrates me, man. And I was so pissed off because I love that film.
Yeah, you know, and that's why, so that's one of the reasons why I choose not to watch that movie. I just listen to the first song every once in a while on my iPhone. But because I like the idea, because like the first song is, you know, all about let's build this world together that we want to live in. And then the song This Is Me is like, I don't need to change. Just accept me for who I am. And it's like, well, what if you're a piece of shit?
Yes. What if you're just not a great person?
Yeah, I know. And well, that's something you have to learn. But you know, we're already going over time. But speaking of musicals though, because I'm glad you mentioned that. But for anyone who is interested in musicals, I really think you should watch. There's a documentary. You should watch the documentary called Howard. It's on Disney+.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched this a few times. But it's basically about Howard Ashman, who is the guy who wrote the songs for the Disney Renaissance for Beauty and the Beast,
I would love
Aladdin,
man.
The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And what's funny is because it talks about his life and how actually he was battling with AIDS while he was writing
Really?
The Little Mermaid. And actually at the Beauty and the Beast, he didn't survive to see the release of Beauty and the Beast.
Really?
But it's great because like it talks about his desire and his like career of how he came about making musicals. But one thing that he said was really interesting that makes a lot of sense to me is he said that animation is the most natural form for musicals, not real life action.
I completely agree.
Because
Completely agree.
in real life, no one breaks out into song suddenly.
No.
Yeah. And so if you watch people who are doing this live action breaking out into song, most people think, why are they singing suddenly?
Yeah.
But in an animation, it's a lot more easily acceptable, you know? So
And I want to just add one more thing onto that and onto the thing that you want.
Sure.
Right. So my daughter watches Frozen and Finding Nemo at least once a day,
Really?
and it's driving me nuts.
Frozen. Yeah, my son likes Frozen too, but not Nemo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She watches Nemo at least 2 to 3 times a day. It's literally a back-to-back repeat. Anyways, so in Frozen is a musical, by the way.
It's a good musical.
I actually really like the first Frozen. It's very well made.
Can I just tell you, like, I know we're going over time, but the one...
Interrupting me.
Sorry.
Interrupting me.
The one gripe I have with Frozen is Hans. Because
Oh, yeah, no.
in a well-made movie, there's supposed to be hints that he's a bad guy beforehand, but there's no hint that he's a bad guy. Like,
He actually is the good guy up until he's the bad guy.
and there's no reason for him to change.
No.
What's funny is like, because you remember the scene where him and Anna first meet.
I could recite that.
Yeah, I'm sure because you watch it every day. But like the thing that frustrates me is like when he meets Anna and Anna leaves and the horse like lifts its hoof off of the boat and Hans falls into the lake or whatever. He has the boat over him. He just holds the boat up and he goes, huh. But if he was a bad character, he would have a more like nefarious look on his face. There's no hints, and then suddenly, I'm the bad guy. No, what is that?
Like there's multiple examples. There's the example with the weasel guy.
Yeah.
Right. And Anna leaves to go find Elsa. Right. And Weasel Man comes up.
Weasel Man.
He's Weasel Man.
Wesselton. It's Wesselton.
Wesselton. But Weasel Man comes up and he's just like, hey, you know what? She's an abomination psychic lady, and Anna's working with the magic witch lady.
Yeah.
And they should both die. And Hans is just like, no,
Yeah.
that's not the right thing. We're doing the right thing. We're gonna give clothes to the homeless people. We're gonna do things. And my horse is nice and looks like the horse from Tangled.
Yes.
And you know, he looks like the Prince Man, and he looks like a nice guy. And I actually think, man, this is such a tangent. Why did you bring this up?
Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
No, I gotta finish this thought now. I actually think that it would have been better if Hans wasn't a bad guy, because I think they set him up to be a really good example for young women.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like the obvious thing is, don't just fall in love in a day. Take time to develop a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you see between Anna and Kristoff, right?
Yeah.
They start as adversaries, they become friends, they become lovers.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it would have been better it would have been better for the story if Hans ended up being a good guy, but it's like Anna realizes, hey, I rushed into this.
Yeah.
I want to take a step back because I don't love you.
Yeah.
Right? It was just an initial thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the story would have been better.
It would have been much better.
Yeah.
Make Wesselton enemy. Anyways.
Yeah. Dude, I don't even remember what I was talking about because you interrupted me.
I'm sorry, man. Well, so if you guys want to have a third part to this, please let us know because we are happy to talk about these movies.
Dude, we literally just make a podcast about talking.
Seriously, Austin and Arthur talks about movies. Anyways, we'll end it here, and if you guys have any questions, just let us know in the comments, or if you want to see the part 3, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.